We are living in unprecedented times, especially when it comes to politics. This election cycle has been unlike any other, marked by significant fallout by the failure of Kamala Harris's presidential campaign. What's striking is how few people seem to grasp why her campaign faltered. While there were several factors, the primary issue was the American public, across all walks of life, races, and backgrounds, has grown tired of having divisive woke ideologies aggressively pushed upon them. Let's trace this cultural shift. It arguably began with the long-awaited legalization of gay marriage. While widely accepted, some viewed it as the opening door to a wave of so-called woke ideologies. This was followed by movements like affirmative action, wokeness tied to racial issues, and the #MeToo movement. These movements started with noble intentions but often became distorted over time. For example, #MeToo began as a vital platform for survivors but eventually warped and twisted into overreactions where misunderstandings or bad dates were conflated with harassment. Then came the rise of gender identity discussions, with concepts like authentic self morphing into complex and, to many, bewildering debates about biological reality. At times, these movements appeared to stray into absurdity, with individuals seemingly redefining decorum and demanding uncritical acceptance. The average American began to feel overwhelmed by the constant push to adopt and adapt to these new ideas without pause or thoughtful discussion. Other examples of movements that just popped up were CRT critical race theory, defund the police, George Floyd riots, my truth identities, grammar pronouns, body positivity, environmental justice, and the list kept growing. Everything was being questioned, and if a group, its ideals were being redefined for one's pleasure but not the good for society. In addition, the workplace saw an uptick in gender-based critiques, such as the concept of toxic masculinity, often implying that men alone are responsible for toxicity, while dismissing women's potential to exhibit similar traits. These movements, though well-meaning initially, spiraled into something unrecognizable, fueling frustration among the public. Kamala Harris's campaign leaned heavily into this cultural zeitgeist, amplifying these ideologies instead of gauging the pulse of the broader nation. Her team seemed to mistake the loud minority on social media for the voice of America. Yet the reality is stark. Only a fraction of Americans are vocal online, and their views don't always reflect the nation's values. By aligning with these divisive trends, her campaign alienated many voters who felt exhausted and dismissed. 4 weeks post-election, critiques of her campaign are emerging. While some observations seem genuine, others are clearly retrospective opportunism, ignoring the cracks that were evident early on. The so-called silent majority of Americans, those who value measured discussions and prefer making their own decisions, rose to say, enough. They want time to think, not to be labeled as ignorant, racist, or hateful for questioning the latest trend. The lesson from this election is clear. The American public resists having ideologies forced upon them. They want clarity, choice, and the chance to decide without coercion. If campaigns fail to respect this, voters will retreat to the familiar and proven paths that offer stability and understanding. So here we are contemplating life on Mars while navigating these strange times. Am I blowing smoke? Or do you see the same patterns? Let me know your thoughts.